Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching this video. Today I'm going to show you how to do an oil change correctly on a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria P71 Police Interceptor. I'm going to be bringing you a bunch of other videos for this vehicle as well, so if you guys are enthusiasts on these vehicles, I know there's a lot of you out there, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so you get notified whenever another video of mine comes out. I'm going to go over all kinds of fluid changes, other general maintenance on the car, other parts, possibly some upgrades. So let's get into it. Thanks, guys. So first thing you're going to need is a big Snap-on toolbox like this. I'm just kidding, guys. All right, so you're going to need some gloves. You can pick these up real cheap at Harbor Freight. That's where I get these. That's the best deal. You don't want to get oil and fluids on your hands. It's just not good for your blood. It's just best to wear gloves. So we'll get some gloves. We picked up our oil. I usually try to look around for deals. Sometimes places will give you a deal. If you buy a 5-quart jug, you'll get so many percentage or dollars off a filter, or you can get a filter for a good price. Usually I try to stay with Motorcraft stuff. That's what Ford recommends. Like the K&N filters, they're a much better filter. Got a good anti-drain back valve in them. This car, it's not so necessary. Some vehicles really require an anti-drain back valve in the filters to prevent dry starts. And I'm not using a synthetic blend or a conventional. I use a full synthetic. I do the high mileage. This vehicle is about almost 200,000 miles now. And I've seen some people, they're using a blend and then they're topping it off, because this vehicle, that's the one thing about the Crown Vic, is it's not 5 quarts, it's 6. So you have to buy the 1 extra quart by itself. Not so much a big deal, but I've seen some people putting a blend in majority of it and then topping it off with a full synthetic. Now that's just a waste of money, because a blend is not synthetic. Now, and then you're going to waste the extra amount of money to then use a full synthetic when you should have just bought another blend, because you're mixing the full synthetic with a blend or conventional, and the blend or conventional is going to take away from the quality of the synthetic. It's all going to mix. Now, granted, all oils, even conventional, they're all made with natural oils and synthetic oils, but why spend the money to top it off with a full synthetic if that's not what the rest of it is that you're putting in there? That's just dumb. So I wouldn't do that. And ever since I ran full synthetic in any vehicle I've owned, you can totally tell the difference. So especially on a high mileage motor, I'll go with the full synthetic. It's worth it to me. Instead of having to do an oil change every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, I can do an oil change every 8,000 to 10,000 miles. I don't really push it like that still. I'll probably still go around 5,000 to 8,000 when I change it. You're gonna want some shop towels. I don't use paper towels because, you know, little fibers of paper and everything come off, and there's dust and everything. You don't want all that contaminant in your oil, wiping your dipstick and cleaning stuff, or they rip really easily. So I really like these shop towels. These are nice. They're much tougher, and they don't leave any dust and debris, and they don't break up and leave stuff behind that can contaminate stuff. You're going to want an oil filter wrench. This is the smaller size. This is a really dinky oil filter on here. It's almost like the size of a Honda Civic oil filter. You're going to want a 5/8 wrench. You can use a 16 millimeter if that's all you have. You see, guys, I don't have nothing but Snap-on. See, this is Harbor Freight right here, some Pittsburgh. Because, let me show you my wrench drawer here. See, these are all Pittsburgh wrenches from Harbor Freight. Now, one of these wrenches from Snap-on costs as much as this entire set. So what would you do? And they still have a lifetime warranty. So, no questions asked, go in there and exchange them. And I believe their policy is actually, if you break one, you have to bring the entire set in, and then they'll replace the entire set for you. So a little bit of a hassle, but you get all new wrenches out of it too. Now I have my Impact out here. I swear this video is not sponsored by Snap-on. This is their 14.4, I believe it is. 14.4 volt. This is going to be to take my drain plug out. I will not put my drain plug back in. Do not put a drain plug in with an Impact, okay? Any car that's come from Jiffy Lube or an oil service center, I have to use an impact. I've even had a Honda that I had to do an oil change on a while ago, where I had to use a 1/2-inch pneumatic impact to get the drain plug out, because they just drive them in with an impact, and that will quickly destroy your oil pan and your plug and the crush washer that's on the plug. So do not ever do that. This will just be to easily get it out of there, because it's stuck on there again from whoever serviced this vehicle last. And you're going to need a drain pan like this. It's all dirty from sitting under my toolbox, but that doesn't matter. We're going to wipe it all out when we're done with it, and it's just going to get old used oil in it anyways. So, and this is good. You can pour it into your old jug, set it out the curb, or take this somewhere to recycle it if they dump it into barrels. See, where I work, I can just take it to work and dump it in a barrel at work, and there's people that pick up the barrel and empty it for me, so that's a plus. You're always going to want to wear safety glasses, especially when working with power tools. Yeah, so that's about it, guys. You know, and another deal, see, when I bought this oil together, I got the filter for $4.99. Normally this filter is about $15 or so. So that's why I went that route at that place. And then a few other products I purchase at Napa sometimes, because they'll either have this bag deal or their bucket deal. They used to do, let me show you, they used to do this camouflage bucket, and anything you could fit in the bucket or in this bag that only costs you $1 for the bag. I believe the bucket was $1 as well. It'll give you everything in there for 20% off. So depending on what you're buying, how much you're buying, it's worth it to do that. And stay tuned. I'm going to bring you another video on changing the air filter. This is just a cheap brand I went with right now. It's not the brand I'd like to go with, but I don't really care right now. I just want to get something in there because the filter is filthy right now. I will be replacing the struts on the hood. They're starting to go out and fail. So I picked these up. I'm going to make another video for you on how to change those out. And then I'm also doing a giveaway on my channel, guys. This is a nifty little hat clip flashlight. All right, guys, so we got the hood popped. As you can see, I need to replace the struts. I got a board holding up the hood right now. I have my hood light up under here. This is a Blue Point that I got from Snap-on. I'll leave a product description and part number in the description of this video in case you guys are interested in this light. This light's great. It's spring-loaded, telescoping. It has nice rubber on here. It doesn't chew up the side of your hood or anything. Goes up to a full-size truck hood. I forget exactly how wide it goes. I have not found a single vehicle yet it does not fit on. Even really wide full-size trucks, I've been able to hook it up here with my doors open and run it inside the cab when I'm working on stuff inside, which isn't great. They also make a battery-operated version of this. I don't know if it's the 14.4 or if it's a 18 volt or a 20 volt or what it is. I went with the corded because I didn't want to hassle with batteries in this thing dying while I'm using the same batteries for power tools and other things I'm working on. So I don't mind having this plugged in. So again, I'll leave a part number and product description, possibly a link for this too in the description of this video if you guys want to check that out. I'll also leave a link for any of these tools, this impact. You're also going to want any type of other flashlight for underneath the vehicle too, guys. And something else I forgot is you're going to need a floor jack. Of course you're going to need a floor jack. And this is another Harbor Freight tool. It's a 2-ton jack from them. Have great reviews. For the money, I wouldn't go with any other jack. I've had tons of these that I've sold to customers and upfitted a bunch of tow trucks with these jacks. They're great. Everybody seems to love them, especially for the money. All right, guys, so first things first, we want to figure out where to jack the car up so that we don't damage it, so we can get our oil drain pan under there. So we got our flashlight under there right now. And the great thing about these cars is these were one of the last production vehicles that actually had a chassis or a frame like a pickup truck. It's not a unibody. So we actually have a good spot under there to jack from, straight from the frame. It's not going to bend our floorboard up here or anything like I've seen so many people do. So Let's see, let's take a look under there.
So right up here in the front, as you'll see, let's see if I can turn this Streamlight flashlight down a little bit. I believe it has like 2 dimming settings. There we go. So you can see where our A-arms are up front here for the suspension. Here's our frame right here. Let's see if I can get a little better shot. So that's where you're going to want to put your jack. So right up in here. So let's do that. We'll get our oil pan under there, or our oil drain pan, excuse me. And we'll zip our plug out down there. Start. So as you can see, I got the jack set up under there correctly. Now most of you probably don't have carpet in your garage like this, so I'm gonna have to be really careful to not upset the wife. I have to be careful not to spill. Now I only jack it up a little bit just so I can get the drain pan under there, because it's a little fat of a drain pan. It's a 15-quart drain container. So I don't believe it slides under there without the jack underneath it. If you can find that it does, great. I also do it just so I can get to the plug once the drain pan's under there. A lot of vehicles will actually rest right on the drain pan, and what I'll do is, once I get it under there and draining, I'll actually lower the jack and let it almost crush the drain pan, so the vehicle isn't raked back and lifted in the front, because sometimes on some vehicles it won't allow all the oil to drain out if it's set up like that. So before we slide our drain pan under there, we want to make sure that this isn't closed, or this will just fill up and flow over the side and spill. So I'm actually just going to completely take this out, just in case. All right, so let's slide this under there. Once you get the car jacked up to the height you need, you can get your drain pan under there. You need to put some blocks underneath it. Not just because this is a Harbor Freight jack. Any jack can fail at any time for any reason. You might not have twisted the handle all the way to keep it where it's going to go. It could be an accident, anything, or the jack itself could fail. You don't want to be underneath it working on it when the thing comes down and crushes you to death. So just as a fail-safe, always put some blocks underneath it just in case, and try to get it as close to the height as what the jack's at least a height that if the jack fails, it's not going to come down and crush you. Now that we're actually going to start working on it, break some fluids loose. We got our gloves on, got our safety glasses on. I like to wear these yellows in low lighting condition, just like any snowboard goggles or anything else. These help with low lighting conditions to see a little better. The lenses on these are so old and chewed up that I don't want to wear them right now. So let's get under there. The drain pan is not under it so that I can get to it here. I'm just going to zip it loose. On the carpet. Now slide the pan back under it. Now before I pull it out all the way, I want to try to get the pan more to the right side of the plug, because it's going to come out of there in a stream. It's going to shoot out of there. So I don't want to put it directly underneath it and have it shoot out and miss the pan altogether. And it was just driving the car, so it's going to be nice and hot. So be sure to get out of the way quick if that's the same case for you. I would recommend letting it cool down for at least a period of time. Do not change it just right after parking it. It will seriously burn you. Okay. So I'll let this plug just kind of drip off in here. Then I'll grab a rag, clean it up, set it aside, let all the oil drain. And then while the oil is draining, I'll move back up top to the vehicle and I'll pull the oil cap off so it's not creating a suction that's still holding some oil in there. It'll help it flow a little better. And I will also keep my drain pan under here and then come back under here and pull my filter out. let me clean this plug up real quick. Alright guys, so something I want to show you is this drain plug on these doesn't actually use a crush washer that's almost like a polyurethane or hard plastic washer. Some of them will actually be brass or I believe it's brass or steel. It's like just a usual normal washer almost. But see, this actually has a grommet that's recessed into it a little bit, if you can see that. Now you can see that a little bit of it. Oh, here, let me grab my... If you guys want to see an actual walkthrough of my toolbox, I'll bring you that in another video. I've had a lot of people asking, so I'll give you a little virtual tour of my box and all the drawers and everything. If you guys are interested in seeing that, it'll be in another video. But right now, if you can see that right there where the grommet is starting to lift up and become pinched. So this looks good enough to reinstall this time. If I had a washer on me, I would change it right now. Yeah, see, there you go. But we're going to keep this in mind, so next change, we are definitely going to need to change this grommet. But it actually, the surface area right here that keeps it from sealing is fine. We're going to remove this little piece so it doesn't end up in our pan. We don't want this getting sucked up in our oil pump and circulated throughout our motor. Hopefully you can hear me over that loud jet that's flying over right now. So we're going to remove this little debris right here. We don't want it to get sucked up by our oil pump and circulated through our motor. So we will remove that. But otherwise this looks good to reinstall right now. Next time we will change this grommet though. Alright, so we're going to remove this cap just in case it's creating any type of suction that's slowing down our flow of oil exiting the motor. So we'll leave that off. We'll just set that aside. And we're going to get under here and change our filter. So I don't think it's really necessary on this vehicle, the way the oil pan is shaped. But just out of habit, we're going to lower the jack and let the front of the vehicle rest at ride height, just in case there's any oil still trapped at the back of the oil pan, so it can flow to the front and still drain out. So we're trying to get as much out of there as we can. So we'll remove our blocks that we had for safety purposes. We'll lower the jack down, see how close it comes to that pan under there. I believe it's just going to barely touch it. I don't have it jacked up much. I really just have it jacked up so I can get under there and work on it. This vehicle isn't very low to the ground, so you could probably work on it without the jack. I just do it so it's easier for me. Well, let's see what happens here. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, see, it didn't really lower it much. So we'll, doesn't look like any more is draining out. It's still just got a slow drip, that's fine. It's pretty much done dripping though. So we'll put the jack back under there, put our blocks back under there, and then we'll get under there and put the drain plug. All right guys, so we got some rags here. We're just gonna give this a quick little wipe. Clean it up a little bit. Okay, that's still got a little drip every couple seconds or so. Not a big deal. It'll do that. So we're going to reinstall our plug. Now, ultimately, I'd like to leave this draining while I pull the filter out still. But since this pan that I have, the drain pan here, won't reach from the drain plug here to where the filter is, I don't want one dripping on the floor while I'm working on the other, so I'm just going to seal this one up now. Okay. Again, we're using a 5/8. This is a 5/8. If you don't have a 5/8, a 16 millimeter will work. let's move our pan here since it's not dripping so we can move the wrench. Now, never install this with an impact like I said. And we are just going to hand snug this. I usually just do these hand snug. I almost never use a torque wrench on this, but since we're making a video on how to do this correctly, I got my torque wrench out here, and we are going to torque this to the correct specs, which is 10 foot-pounds. See, like right now? Yeah, see, we're at 10 right there. Okay, that's good. I wouldn't go any more than 10. All right, so as you can see, we have a K&N in there already. You can either use an oil filter wrench on it or an actual wrench on the end of the filter. They give you a nice little nut that's tack welded or spot welded on there. It's just sheet metal. I don't know how strong that's going to be. I usually always use a filter wrench on these still, but just for video's sake, I'm going to try a wrench on that and see how it goes. I believe it's a 1 inch. So let's see. I got a 1 inch wrench here. Let's see if we can even get up in there with a long range wrench to get one on there. I don't know if we'd be able to torque it off with a stubby. Again, don't ever put these on with a wrench. They should really only be hand snug. I usually just kind of finish it with a wrench just to make it a little snugger, but you don't want to crank these on there. You'll start to collapse the filter if you do so. We can just barely get on there. Almost had it there. Let's try the open end here. And I hate when people put them on too snug with the wrench a lot, because you might not crush it at first, but once it gets old and baked on here, you'll be crushing it with the wrench trying to get it off. And again, cars I've seen that were serviced at Jiffy Lube and other oil centers like that, I've had to just completely crush the filter to the point where I was almost breaking it from the fitting that's screwed into the actual motor. So, let's see. Well, doesn't look like that's going to be too convenient in our situation. Let's see. There we go. The nut itself could be a little deeper because it barely engages with the box end wrench. If the nut was a little larger. Okay, there we go. So now it's hand loose, so I'll be able to get it off the rest of the way by hand. As you can see, what's cool about these vehicles is they have this little catch right here. So as you pull the filter off, the oil that drains out from the seal of the filter is going to catch in a tray that's underneath it and then drain out to this little trough here and come out the end. And we have our drain pan down here to catch it, and it's just going to drain out right here, which is awesome. A lot of cars could use this. It keeps all the oil from coming out of there and draining all over these hoses and our rack and pinion and everything under this car. Keeps things nice and clean. It's a great design. So I'm going to reach up in here. Let's see if it'll do it. So you guys can see how it works. See, there you go. So we'll just bust it loose a little bit so it starts flowing. We don't want a bunch to come spewing out of there and overflow. We want this little cool design to do its job. Makes things a lot easier for us. Makes cleanup a lot easier. All right, that's about it. Let's pull the filter off all the way. All right, and try to keep the filter from doing that. You want to rotate this thing so the seal is at the top, because it's going to be full of oil still. If you tilt it the other way, it's going to drain all that oil back out all over the place, and it's going to defeat the whole purpose of this. So we have the filter still upright like that. Once it's above our pan, we will tilt it. You can see all the remaining oil that's still in there that's going to come out. So that would make a big mess. So usually these pans have a little spot on them that holds the filter up enough so it's not creating a suction.
and stuck to the bottom of the pan with a perfect seal around it, so it'll actually sit in the pan and continue to drain out to the center of the pan for us. So that's where we have it sitting right now, just continuing to drain. Because eventually we're going to box the filter up in the box that the new filter came in, right side up, so it doesn't leak. And we'll turn that in with our used oil. So we'll let this keep draining until it slows down quite a bit more. And then we'll clean our seal up there. Make sure the seal from the old filter is not stuck up there and came off the filter and still stuck on there. We don't want to put the new filter on top of an old seal that might be stuck there. So you want to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it will fail and leak like crazy. It'll blow that seal out of there. So we'll let this keep draining, and then we'll clean it up a little bit, and then we'll install our new filter. Alright, so it looks like that's pretty well drained. So it's got a mild drip to it. So we're going to get up in there and we're going to wipe it down. I want to use a clean rag so we don't leave any contaminants up in there where our filter is going to be making a seal. And when we're done wiping it, we want to make sure that there's, again, no contaminants on the threads, inside the ports, on the seal surface. Okay. We'll switch to a clean portion of the rag again. We'll give it another little wipe. I wipe from the top it down, because that's the way the oil is flowing. So there's still going to be a little bit coming out of there. I'll wipe all this off a little bit more when I get the new filter on there, because I don't want to get any dirt or debris up in there where the new filter is gonna seat. Okay, so that looks good.
Another good habit to get into here is pre-lubing the seal that comes on the new oil filter before you install it. So we're gonna unbox our new filter. The K&Ns are nice that they come with this little sticker that tracks your mileage that goes inside your windshield. So you can write the mileage, the date and the mileage of when we do this oil change. So you'll know when you're due for the next change. That's pretty cool. It's a nice little cool sticker. It makes you look like you got some, it's plus 5 horsepower, guys. So we'll take our filter out. See, and our filter comes, usually there's like a little bit of powder from the rubber on the seal here. I don't know if it's from packaging or manufacturing or what, but it's very dry, and that could prevent an adequate seal, and you might possibly get a leak. So what we want to do is we'll take our 1 quart bottle, because it's a little easier to handle. So we'll just lean it over enough to get your finger in there and just get a tiny bit on your finger. And then we'll just run it around the seal right here, just like this, kind of lube it up. You don't want it like saturated and soaking wet, but just enough to make it moist. Okay, real quick guys, actually, almost forgot. Another good thing to do is we want to pre-fill the filter a little bit. Okay, always tilt the bottle this way. If you tilt it this way to pour it, or let's say this way, it's gonna gurgle and it's gonna come out like blub, 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 and it's gonna make a mess. So pour it this way. We'll just pour a little bit in there, fill it up maybe like halfway. It's enough to where it's not gonna make a gigantic mess when we tilt it sideways. Put it on there, but just enough so there's some in there, so it's not completely dry when we fill it up and start the car for the first time after the change. All right, so now we'll get under there and install.
All right, so let's install the new filter. While we're tilting it up in there, getting it on sideways, a little of the fresh new oil might spill out. Don't worry about that. You should still have your drain pan underneath this, just in case. We're just going hand snug here, okay? And we'll get pretty tight by hand. We can muscle it on there. But that's all you want to do. You don't want to finish it off with a wrench or really torque it on there with your filter wrench or any of that. It's completely unnecessary. And it's just going to make it hell for you to remove it the next time. All right. So that's good right there. Oh. We'll give all this a final wipe down, clean all this up. Kind of fold our towel over so it gets in this trough a little bit. Really clean it up. Otherwise, you know, you leave any oil in there and it's just going to catch dust and debris, and then it's going to get all nasty, and then this trough won't work as well anymore because it's full of a bunch of gunk. So just want to adequately clean everything out. Keeps everything in like new condition. Give it a little wipe underneath the filter where it comes from. And be careful too, it's just plastic. Don't really bend this thing or torque on it. You don't want to have to get in there and replace that. Wiping some excess gunk that's built up over time from other people. Story of our lives. All right, that looks good. Okay, so we got our drain plug in. Let's see, we have our plug in. We'll give that a little wipe down too. It's clean. It just looks really bad on the video. It's pretty wet looking still, but it's not leaking. Looks good. We got this in, all cleaned up. This is actually all sweat up here from me sweating from my arms. It's hot out here. All right, so we'll fill it up and then we'll come back down here and check for leak. All right, so I apologize guys. I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, you're gonna want a funnel like this. You don't need one. I've seen people extremely skilled be able to pour it in there without any mess, without a funnel. I'm not so skilled. So we're gonna use this funnel. We're gonna get our big 5-quart jug here. I like the Valvoline. I'm always been kind of a Valvoline guy. Mobil 1 is great if you want to run some of the other higher performance ones like Royal Purple. Any of those, go for it, guys. Suggested motor weight for this vehicle is 520, and I'm going the high mileage full synthetic because this vehicle right now has about 198,000 miles on it. So. But it's still a great vehicle, still running super strong, no issues with it whatsoever. Love this car. Now let's pull the little safety seal out of here. Well, I just sprayed a little bit of oil everywhere. Careful of that. Start pouring this in here. Oops, you almost missed it even with the funnel. And since we know this takes about 6 quarts, this is a 5-quart jug, we're just gonna pour this entire thing in here. Always make sure your drain plug and your filter are already installed before you get to this step. Don't rush yourself. Double check if you have to. You do not want to pour this whole jug in here and then all of a sudden see it spilling out on the ground, coming up to your toes from underneath the vehicle. And you just wasted a whole 5 quarts of oil and have a large mess to clean up. All right, so we've got the 5 quarts in there. I'll switch over to the one little separate quart that we had to buy because it's about 6 quarts. We're not going to put this entire quart in there yet. I'll probably put about half of this in there, and then we're going to lower our jack, have the vehicle sit level, and we're going to give it a minute for everything to drain down through the motor into our pan. And then we're going to check our dipstick and see what our level is at. You don't want to underfill, but you don't want to overfill either. Overfilling can sometimes be worse on certain motors, but underfilling and overfilling are just as bad equally, I would say, because either way the oil can start to cavitate. If it's underfilled, your pump is not going to pick up oil and distribute it to the top of your motor to lubricate everything adequately. And if it's overfilled, it can actually cavitate inside the pan
near the pump and or the pump pickup and froth up, and it'll have almost the same effect. It won't pick up adequately to lubricate your motor like it should. So you don't want to overfill, you don't want to underfill. So that's why we're not going to just dump this whole thing in right now. We're going to put probably about half of it in it and then start checking our dipstick as we're adding the rest of this. I want to tilt the bottle this way to keep it from gurgling and making a mess. It's still going to do that if you just tilt it completely upside down, but see, we're able to pour it pretty fast like that. Okay, so we'll put about 3/4 in right there, just because I've done this before, so I know about what it's going to take. So now we're going to check the dipstick and see where we're at.
Right, so let's check for leaks. Let's see if there's any leaks. Kind of wipe up our sweat and other leftover oil that's under here on some stuff. Clean it up. Looks like we're good. I don't see any leaks. Nothing's dripping. Let's check out our plug over here on our oil pan. It's still a little oily, but it's not leaking. So we're just gonna wipe that up. And it's pretty saturated because the pan is like a flat paint material. So what I actually have here, little secret of the pros. Got a can of brake clean. So we're just gonna hit this real quick, just to clean the rest of the saturated oil off of there. Just be careful if you're ever filming with brake clean around, it'll actually destroy the lens of your camera. It'll fog it up. And same thing goes with any flashlights. Don't get brake clean on the lens of any flashlights. It'll really fog it up. So you won't get all the lumens out of it, and yeah, really dim your flashlight down. So that looks good. No leaks. Let's give it a little wipe. Oh, we're clean. Good to go.
All right, so let's get our flashlight out from under there. We will get our drain pan out from under there. Get our safety blocks out from under there. Make sure everything is out from underneath the vehicle. It is. Now we can set the jack down because we are done underneath the vehicle. All right. And we'll clean all this up and I'll get back to you for the next shot, guys. All right, so we're going to wipe this filter down. This is our old one. We're just going to clean it up a little bit. It's done draining. There still could be some residual in here, so we're going to put it back in the old box upside down so that it won't leak. We're not going to box this up yet because we want to get this sticker off of here. We're going to use this. So we're going to leave that. We'll peel that sticker off there a little later. We are going to get our drain pan here all wiped and cleaned out. It's still full of oil, but we're going to just clean this out real quick. I like to store it nice and clean. So I'm just going to wipe all this down. This is why it's great to just use the paper towels, guys. I mean, you can use shop rags too, no big deal. But you're just going to throw them away also, and they're more expensive, or you're going to wash them, and I don't like to do that because I put all my nice clothes in my washing machine. I'm not trying to wash a bunch of oily rags in there and then wash my clothes. So I just go for the towels I can throw away. So, there we go. It's all wiped out. We will reinstall this plug that we took out earlier, so it's all sealed. So it has this spout on the side of it here, so we can actually take our old jug here. This is this was our new jug, but it's empty now because we put all this oil in our motor. So we can actually drain this pan out into this jug, which makes it a little easier to transport somewhere to have recycled or dumped. So we're going to grab our funnel again. We throw our funnel in there. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. There we go. So throw our funnel in there. And we're just gonna slowly, carefully pour this in there. And this is also a good test to see. You can really see, look how black that oil was. It was definitely due. I went too long on this oil change. I was waiting to get everything together to make a video, and I have a newborn baby girl, and there's been a lot of stuff going on in my life. So finally getting around to doing this oil change, and it was definitely due. But this car does burn a little bit of oil. Not too bad. I've had some Hondas that will burn a quart or so in between changes or more. But this is a good test to put it back in the bottle. Dump out your whole drain pan here, and then we'll be able to see on the side of the bottle exactly how much oil came out of there and how short we were if we didn't check our dipstick beforehand. But you should really never let that happen. This motor especially, if it goes too low, really any motor, but this motor there's been a lot of talk on discussion forums and boards about letting this motor go low on oil at all can definitely damage it. So you do not want to let that happen. And usually out of habit or good practice, after I do an oil change, check the dipstick. I'll usually start the motor, let it run for a little bit, shut it off, let everything drain back into the pan, like let it sit for a minute, and then I'll check the dipstick again to check the level again. And just maybe like every week, every other week, you want to just always check your fluid levels. It's not worth it to damage your vehicle just because you didn't do something that could have been prevented that's so simple and quick and easy. All right, so most of that's in there. I'm not gonna sit here and let this drip forever. I don't have time for it. All right, we'll put our drain pan away. Until next time. And again, we'll grab some rags. And we will clean this funnel out. Wipe this funnel out. Because we're gonna put this funnel back up on our motor. Because we're not done filling it. We're gonna check it still, so we want to wipe all this old nasty oil out of it. We don't want to pour on our new fresh oil through this filter. So as you can see, I'm just wiping it out with some rags like this. Skid it all the way through there to get anything that's in the little spout there. I wipe the outside of it too, so yeah, it's pretty clean. So, all right, clean off this jug if anything got on it. So I'll put this back up on our motor here. Put this back in here. Let it sit there. We will put our cap back on. All right, and then we'll set this aside. Throw our rags away. All right, so now we got our jack out from under it. The vehicle's sitting level. Everything's out from under it. Nothing's leaking. Everything's sealed. All right, so now we're going to check the level on our dipstick. It's this yellow plastic eyelet right down here. We're going to set a rag down underneath it in case it drips. We don't want to wipe it off as we pull it out, mess up our reading. We'll be able to see an accurate reading on it. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on this for you guys. All right, so there we go. So we want to be in between these two little dots on here, these two holes that are in here. So as you can see, we are, well, we're right below the top one. There we go, you can kind of see, there you go. See that? We're right below the top one. So it's perfect. So I'm gonna grab a rag. We'll wipe this off just in case. Make sure you use a clean side of the rag. You don't want to get any contaminants on the dipstick before you reinsert it.
We'll guide this in here so we don't touch anything dirty while we're trying to get it in the hole. And we'll just reinsert it. And that's it. So here we are inside the vehicle, just to give you guys an idea of where I put my sticker. I just put it in the top corner up here. I got the date on there and the mileage. See, I'm almost at 200,000. I don't fill in next change mileage just because the next change is when I feel like it. So this just helps me keep track of when I did the change exactly, so I don't forget. All right, guys, so that's it. We're all done. Don't forget to take your sticker off of here. Write down your date and mileage of your change. And tape this up. I don't know what your local stores want, your local ordinances on recycling used oil and filters. Just make sure you comply with that. And then if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, guys. I appreciate it. Subscribe. Could use all the subscribers I get. Appreciate all of you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And hit that bell notification too, because I'm going to be bringing you a video on installing the hood support struts for this vehicle. Just changing the air filter on this vehicle as well. I'm doing a giveaway on my channel, so make sure to like and subscribe. I'm giving away these Snap-on hat clips. I'm giving 5 away on my channel. You guys want to get in on these? It's actually here. I got one set up right here. Sorry if you're not a Niners fan. This is what it looks like right here, guys, as you can see. So it goes on your hat like this, clips over it. Got the little light underneath there. So you can actually, it's just press activated. Oh, it's on the green right now. There we go. So then it stays on. So these are really cool. Like, you know, if you're, you know, always have, if you like wearing hats a lot, you know, your car breaks down at night, or you got something you need to see at night or something, you know, you can just throw this little hat on right here, you know. And you can see what you're working on. Really lights up your, I mean, it's light in here right now. Let me see if I can turn these lights off real quick. You can see it. Yeah, so see, it's pretty legit, guys. So let's see, you can see it lighting up my toolbox maybe. Yeah, so they're pretty legit. So I'm gonna be giving 5 of these away on my channel. So make sure you like and subscribe. So just stay tuned for the details of that. I'm actually going to bring you some more details in the intro to my channel. Yeah, see, and it doesn't get in the way of your vision or anything either. They're pretty legit, dude. So I'm gonna be giving 5 of those away. And so make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video, guys. You know, if I left something out, if there's something you didn't like that I did, or I could have done better, or you have some tips or hints for me or for any of my viewers, you know, make it a little more efficient, a little faster, just let me know. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you next time.